welcome to another episode of Roasting Marshmallows. My name is Rolf Zuurt and I'm your host. Are you able to do your best work? Do you feel proud of being an employee of your company? Are you enjoying the work you do? Do you feel like you fit in with the people? And are you expecting to work there for a very long time? These might sound like a lot of different questions, but I mean, they all boil down to the same thing. Are you happy where you work? Are you in the right company? And today I am joined by just my colleagues, so this might be a horrible episode maybe for our boss, but we're going to be talking about if we are in the right company or not, and why did we shift companies in the past and all this kind of stuff. So welcome guys, Arno, Panche and Hiek.
Thanks man.
Yes, I have one observation to make, and you've used it before, but also now. You referred to Sylvester as our boss. And I kind of, when we hear that, I get a bit of like,
what would the preferred
I really don't know
designation be?
I haven't thought about it because I never perceive him as a boss. So like when you use it to me, it's like, oh damn.
In the past, Rolf mentioned him as our superior, so maybe that's
our grand exalted leader.
Yeah, but I agree. I don't see him as a boss either.
Okay, so next time I'll try to say
like mom, right?
CEO, a company mom. Yeah.
Company mom.
No, let's not do that. But the initiator of FourScouts, the
founder.
The founder.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go there. That works for me. So, man, how are you guys feeling about our founder? Like, well, that's not the topic of today's podcast, of course, but at least we're talking about being in the right company and fitting in. And, well, I'll start, I guess, because I am with FourScouts for 7 years now, almost 8 years, actually, in January in 2022. So it's obvious that, for my, at least, that I've currently fit in quite well with the company. And, I thoroughly enjoy it. How about you guys? Hiek?
Yeah, I think I'm the youngest employee. I know Panche is now took my my title. I was the youngest one. Well, I'm still the youngest one, but
the most recent hire you used to be.
Yeah. So definitely FourScouts so far has been the place for me. As I was telling you guys before, I worked in 11 different companies before I actually settled with FourScouts, and now I'm there for almost 40 years. So I would say is definitely my record by a long shot.
What was the shortest?
The shortest was I think 3 months, and the average was about a year.
Oh.
Did you get fired for the 3 months, or did you come to the conclusion yourself, like this is not the company for me?
So far, I have never had the experience of being fired, but I always decided to leave. Yeah.
Okay. So Arno, what about you, man? How many companies did you have? Well, not have, but like employed at, I guess is the right term.
Well, when I started in IT, I think FourScouts is my fourth.
Speak louder.
Oh, sorry guys. So, in the context of IT, FourScouts is my fourth company. I think hence the name FourScouts. But
it's apparently so.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what was for you the shortest that you worked at a company? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, that was before my IT-related stuff. I think I worked for a company once.
Like one day. What happened? Like, did the guy just start yelling at you or something?
No, not really. I just didn't like it. It was like, no, just goodbye. Yeah. But it was when I was younger, right? Then I thought it was more important than they were.
Yeah.
One day, man.
Has that changed?
No. People like me more, I think.
Okay. Panche, what about you? How many companies did you have?
That I had never thought about it until now. So in IT, if I include some internships,
sure,
I'd say 3, 4, and without IT, it would go like up to 5.
Okay. And
the shortest I did one summer. That was about 2 months. I did in a construction company work. And I did about...
actually like laying bricks or something.
Almost. No, I was doing...
being a manager.
I was doing some translations then for that company. And then in IT, I think the shortest was like an internship I did for about a month. And I was like, I kind of didn't like it after a month. And then I decided to leave. Yeah. Oh, I thought of another one. I did another in the meantime, but that was also like 2-3 months also of internship.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so for me, it's like before FourScouts, I just worked at one. Well, I guess technically, if you want to look at like the contracts, it's two, because I used it, like my very first employer was Brunel, like a outsourcing company, I guess. I'm not sure what the correct term is there, but they like instantly hired me out to another company, currently known as Blue Jay Solutions. And after half a year, they changed the contract that I had with Brunel to a permanent position over there. So yeah, before FourScouts, that was the only company that I've seen at the inside, so to say. And it took me 7 years before I left there, which was quite okay, because I really liked it there. But the culture changed because we were acquired by an American investor or a hedge fund, or I don't even know exactly what they were doing. And then like the total management style and structure and everything changed. And every time a manager would come along, someone would get fired, and that to me was the moment where I decided, like, okay, this is not the type of company I want to work for. And that's when I joined FourScouts.
So, but like the reason was because they were firing people. Like, what was the reason why you knew that, okay, this is not for me?
Yeah. So at first it was a bit of it was a company where the CEO, he just sat down, had lunch with you. He founded the company, and he would just talk. Be a normal guy. Everyone, all your colleagues, in the same building, basically, all working to the same problem, the same solution. Feeling like a unit. Then you get acquired by a big American corporation, and that does a lot of things, right? We went from one focused goal with one product to like a whole suite of products with like a whole supply chain management thing, which in itself isn't a bad thing, but it changed the management structure. Like all of a sudden I had a German manager who was somewhere in Frankfurt. There were people from England coming over all the time. Sometimes people had to travel over to Boston to have discussions with the board or whatever. And the total management structure just totally changed. And like I said, my close colleagues were getting fired. Locations were we were just like on the target of a location that was being shut down. So it kind of felt like if you sit tight and wait, then it's gonna die anyway. So then I figured I'm just gonna leave before the ship sinks. And
so they brought in a lot of managers as well, like the whole management crew.
Yeah, and eventually they did close down the building where I was working. So I was out of there in time, for my feeling at least. So that was a clear indicator for me where the company did not fit anymore.
Yeah.
So you said something about the culture changed.
Yep.
What was the precursor of the culture change?
So we had a product, and that product was to be integrated within the larger suite of products. And I was like not product lead or anything, but I still felt a sort of pride and identity in the product, and then to get absorbed in the bigger enterprise suite, where you're just going to be like a cog in the wheel. So the importance of the work, the perceived importance at least, goes down. And, other people with probably more experience than me back then, made certain decisions that I did not really like. And, certain technological directions and other, like, now that I reflect back on it, like stuff that's not super important, but to me, I felt really strongly about it back then. And that's why I said, like, I just don't want to work for a company like this anymore.
So at least maybe it wasn't that they made the decision, but maybe it was mostly they did not involve you in the decision making.
No, it was more like, okay, we're a team out here in the Netherlands, and then there's a team in Antwerp, and then there's a team there, and it never felt like a unity. It was always like a us versus them, like another team calling the shots, and then I don't know, it just doesn't. It didn't feel like a one solid cohesive unit anymore.
And how big was the organization before it was acquired, and how big it was after it was acquired?
I don't know, like 35 indeed before we got acquired, and then after acquisition, I have no idea, man. Like several hundred, maybe 1,000 or more. I have no idea. Yeah. So man. And now FourScouts, and yeah, so far so good, right?
So you've been for
Is
7
that a
years
question or
at
is that
FourScouts,
a
so time to
statement?
change.
I'm sorry.
You said you worked for 7 years for the previous company, and now you've been working
Yeah.
for FourScouts for 7 years, so it's a time for change.
Yeah, maybe, man. Maybe. Nah, then, like I said, so far so good. I really enjoy it. The culture here is pretty good. You know, I like my colleagues a lot. I like the type of work that we're doing, and I also really value the input that we have, that I have, in terms of directions, thing we do, company values, all of these things. So yeah, definitely feels at home for me. So.
So are those the reasons why you like FourScout, or is those the reason why is because you like your work, or is the whole package? Today we are interviewing the host.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So for sure, I like the type of work that we're doing. That's number one, right? And of course, that changes from assignment to assignment. But in general, the things that we do, I enjoy. And like I said, I also enjoy being involved in most, if not all, of the decisions that like the company is making in terms of direction or strategy. Even like when we were drafting up the core values with each other, I think there are companies out there that just do that with like the board of directors, and then everyone just have to follow suit. And I think it's pretty cool that you're allowed to to do that here.
And you think if we don't have that, would you leave? Would it be a deal breaker for you?
No, I would not leave, but I would probably feel a lot less warm towards this company if it were to follow like these classic enterprisey things where, here's your vacation budget, put it in this Excel sheet, and I'll sign off on it if it's okay. And then 1 second, can you guys take over from me? I'm getting a call here.
We're interviewing you.
We will. So.
Well, to be honest, I still have to put in my vacation on an Excel sheet, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, but nobody has to approve it.
That's true.
Yeah, I think for me, like, because on this vacation subject, right, like I had this, one of the companies that I worked that I really knew, like, man, this is so wrong in so many levels, was that there was Christmas time and I was still working in Brazil, and the Christmas fell like in a Thursday, for example. So, and then Friday we would have to go back to work because it was basically normal day, and then there was Saturday and Sunday. But like any company that I know, they would just close on Friday, and they would just say, it's okay, you can just take an extended holiday or whatever. They would figure it out. But this company, they told me like, oh no, you have to come to work on Friday, And normally Christmas I would go to my grandparents in the countryside. It would be like 5-6 hours drive, and then it would just be like a hell to come back for one day. And then I remember talking to my boss, I don't think this is very wise with the people that you have to just, like force us to come for a day. Does not make any sense. And then his response to me was, well, I actually don't care what you think. You are not here to think. You are here to do your job. So be here by Friday. And that was the moment that I quit. I literally quit that point. Like, okay, I quit, And then he was like, oh, let's talk then. I'm like, no, I'm not talking anymore. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And
was he shocked then or not?
Huh?
Was he shocked? Like what?
Not at all. I mean, in a way, he was shocked the fact that I quit.
Well, unexpected, I guess.
Unexpected, exactly. Yeah. But for not a moment, I think he even cared.
So how does that work in Brazil? Can you quit on the spot? Because in Holland, you would still have like, okay, too bad.
No, you can quit on the spot, but you still need a month. And but we managed to find an agreement, a deal, because it was like anyway, it was a month before Christmas, so it's was not like a week before, and because of course you need approval to go on holidays and all those kind of things. So that was one of the companies that I worked that I knew like, okay, this is just not the place. But there were several signs through the whole time that I was there that I knew that it was also like, that's not the place for me. But I was staying because the money was nice.
So for me, the question that arises from here is, was it the company or was it the person?
That's a good one.
In that case, it was definitely the person.
I think in most
cases,
did you know
any other
person?
Yeah. Because did you know any of the other managers or bosses or whatever?
Not really, no. No.
So you don't have a comparison.
No. Well, I have comparison with other companies around, right? But it's
Yeah,
in
but
that
not the
case,
company itself.
in that case, was definitely the person.
So I personally don't like. I don't have a lot of experience in changing a lot of companies like this, and why I chose or why I decided to leave. Maybe we can talk briefly. But one thing that has come around over and over is people who I have sometimes hired, but also people who went to work for companies that I worked with. The sole reason they mentioned for going to work for the company were the people they met during the interview process. Either the recruiter was really awesome, or actually the people or the tech people they had to talk with, or anybody that was part of that process. They felt a really direct personal connection with that person. That's like, okay, if I work with this person, then this is it.
Yeah.
And
So you think people join for that? Like
people
purely
definitely join for
the
that.
person?
yeah,
Yes.
I don't think people have loyalty to companies. They don't build relationship with companies. I think people build relationship with other people.
Yeah.
Which
Which is interesting, though, right? Because, like, as a consultant, I've been inside of many other companies, and most of the teams there that I worked with, like, most of them were, at least in terms of personality, pretty nice people, right? I was usually pretty sad when I had to go. So isn't that true for many companies as well? That generally the people that are working there are, pretty awesome.
Well, when you are interviewing let's say when you start an interview process, you don't get to see a lot of the company. Most of the time, you see only, if you're lucky, 4 people or something in the process. But generally, you have a talk with a recruiter, and then you have a talk maybe with one of the managers, and maybe you have a talk with like 1 or 2 tech people to do a tech interview. And purely talking about our domain.
Yeah.
So if you, during those talks of a couple of hours that you have, if the people from the company can actually bring up their humane side, it's like that's what people relate to, and people.
So let's turn this around, right? So what if you have a few horrible people, but it's Google, just for the sake of hypothesis? Don't you think people will join anyways because it's great on their resume?
Yes.
Because then you join for the company, not the people.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but you don't join for the company. You join for what the company is going to bring onto your name on your resume for the future, right?
Yeah, what the company represents, right? Like, I mean, people would jump at the opportunity to work at NASA or something. They probably don't even care who works there.
Yeah.
Well, would you still join
there
if you have like a horrible experience during an interview process?
I don't know.
So that's the question, right? Like, is this person that's interviewing me going to be working with me on a daily basis? And then you definitely have to reconsider it. For sure.
You all of you have been involved in a recruitment processes for some of our clients, and then when we do that, people are under the impression that we talk to they're going to work with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that is one of the reasons one of the parameters they use when they make the decision to join or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely the personal.
Sorry.
Definitely those
only
personal
a few
relationships.
Explicitly asked for it, right? Like only a few really said, like, okay, if I join, will I get to work with you guys? Like only a handful actually asked for it. Do you think the rest just implicitly
probably
assumed it? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, I know in the past when I was hiring people for the companies that I worked for, I know that people have told me after, I joined the company because I really, really enjoyed our conversation during the interview process. Mm-hmm. To be frank, when people left, they didn't tell me they left explicitly because of me, so maybe that also happened.
But did you change the recruitment process to actually put somebody nice in there?
No.
No, they didn't change. That's how they design it. Because that's the first thing you do. Oh, that person is more outspoken. This person is better. So let's put this person to talk. I think it's naturally.
Yeah.
You design that way, right? Like everybody who does recruited, you're gonna take the most outspoken person in the team, and you're not gonna select somebody that you think is gonna be an asshole, even though it is part of your team.
Yeah. But it's interesting that we're talking about the recruitment phase because, for example, Henk, you described that you quit certain companies within 3 months. Like, do you think you could have seen it coming while you were having your talks, like
Yes.
when you applied for the job? Like,
I
did
think
you-
yes, but it also come like those examples. I was like really junior, right? I didn't
Yeah.
per se understand what I was supposed to search for. So it's more like you hear things, and then
Yeah.
because you don't know, you just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna join this boat and then see what it is. But because you have no other experience or people around you that can tell you, then it's like, yeah, it's horrible. But like, if it would be me now with my mindset, I would join that interview. I would be like, yeah, 5 minutes, I would be done. Like, sorry, this is just not a match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think it's because like the interview process usually goes about describing the work and the product, and not so much maybe the company culture or the leadership style or any other like non-daily work-related stuff? Do you think that the topic that are being discussed during interviews are a bit off?
Good question.
Well, I don't know.
I
The
think-
interview process is also what you ask. If you're, let's say, a candidate on an interview, you can also generally ask questions.
Yeah. So I am referring indeed to the candidate. Like, should a candidate ask like, hey, what type of work am I doing here, or hey, what type of a manager am I going to have, or what is the company culture
I
over
think
here?
it's a bit of both, right? Because it's also like when you go on a date, you're not asking the questions like, hey, do you squeeze the tooth cream fully? Like all the things that annoy the crap out of you, you're not gonna
Wow.
ask. You're just gonna
Would help for a lot of problems if you do.
Yes, maybe. But again, I think those are not per se, let's say, problems, right? They are more like they getting annoyance on the way, and it's a build up, and then eventually you get sick of it, and then you leave.
Yeah.
But I think all those things, they are not per se like issues, right? It's just more like all of them together, yes, they become a place that you can't work.
Yeah.
So I think what Enrique was talking about, when you're young, right? You don't really know what you're looking for. You don't know yourself what you're looking for. You don't know what the company. You don't know what you can expect. So anything is an experience, and I say, yeah, that's probably maybe one of the best ways to approach it. It's just like, hey, build up some experience. Even bad experience is an experience. You know what you don't want, and that's sometimes more important than knowing what you want. And later on, as you probably have kind of figured out, okay, this is something I definitely do not want to do. It's probably interesting to look at what companies, and if I may refer to the Big Five for Life book, it's okay, what is the purpose of the company? Why does this company exist? Which issues does this company try to tackle? And then you can look at, all right, does me helping this company achieve its purpose would also help me achieve my own? And probably that's where the match should lie. And the moment you realize that the company, and maybe you've been part of the company, and something happens, company gets taken over by another company, and maybe the moment this changes, you say, oh, I'm going to give it a bit shot. I will give it a bit more time. Let's see how this pans out. But as things go on, sometimes you start feeling, okay, but this company is going completely in a different direction than it used to go, and I'm not really sure it matches really how I feel.
But
And then
if
maybe
you're
it's
young-
time to reconsider.
But it
Do you think when you're young? No,
go ahead,
sorry.
Dan. Sorry, go.
I'm just wondering if you are young, you just go a little bit with the flow. At least that's my experience myself, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially when you're 23 or whatever, then figure out yourself is even a big thing.
Yeah.
Let alone see how you match with the company.
Yeah.
Oh, at 40 is a big thing to figure out yourself.
I'm
like-
not there yet, but I'm a bit scared of it.
No, like the thing is, I get the part about the purpose, right? But like seriously, like how many of you actually applied for a job thinking of the purpose of the company?
I did.
Wow, which one?
The
Your
last
previous
one.
job or this one? The last one?
Yeah. This one then. Right.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like when you are young, I don't think you think about, I don't know, like maybe
No,
some
no.
young people, but I don't think we did. But like I can imagine because I do hear these stories of all these young people going for volunteer work and doing things that are meaningful. And so there are apparently some people who does that, but I guess not among us right now.
Maybe we're too old for that, In our days, that was not the case.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, when you're young, you're kind of also clueless. Like you really don't know.
What you mean, man? I knew everything when I was a junior.
Yeah,
developer.
exactly. And that was the problem, right?
At least I was more secure back then that I knew everything.
Exactly.
It's called wisdom as you age, Arno.
Yeah. The more you learn, then the more you realize it's like, oh, I don't know a lot of stuff, right? That's the whole point. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I also think that like nowadays it's also maybe a bit over the top, right? Like how much a company needs to have a mission or like this purpose or whatever, because I know that we're not living 100 years ago, but like, yeah, people used to be just fine being a factory worker for 50 years and then, just don't work and go.
Well,
they
fine?
accepted. They
accepted.
it.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah,
that's different.
Because what was the alternative? Die in the gutter. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe like they really wanted to be a farmer, but they just did not really know how to do it, and they figured, well, let me just produce these goods here. And,
but let's put it this way: then your personal purpose of not dying in the gutter is definitely being fulfilled by working in the factory.
Yes.
Yeah, feeding exactly. Your family is another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question is that now we are a bit of a spoiled generation that we can.
I think so.
We can have a lot of things to choose. Then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, but like we are more like a lucky percentage of the world that can actually do and afford.
Well, I don't know, because in our last podcast, our guest mentioned that we are modern coal miners. So I'm not sure if there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think
to which we don't necessarily agree with, right?
Okay, yeah.
And it hurts a few feelings around.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but
it's a bit insensitive to the coal miners, to be honest.
That's true.
I'm being honest. Like, you cannot compare the two things.
No, totally agree.
I think we should invite our guest back to elaborate on this story, I guess.
Or an ex-coal miner.
Yeah.
Hey, that would be something.
When did you guys realize that then you are in the right place? When was the moment? Because now, of course, you are all in FourScouts, so that means you are all in the right place. So what was the moment that you said, like, oh yeah, this is the company that I should definitely be right now?
For me, it's the amount of frustrations.
Wow, that's an interesting metric.
I swear to God. It really is.
Does it mean you have I get frustrated a lot or a little?
No, not so much right now, so that's good. Yeah. Because usually it's a thing, right? You have a manager which you don't like or for whatever reason, and they just frustrate you. Either way, you have to do something you don't really like, or you just don't like the guy. It's also an option. And I think the less frustrations you have, the better it is.
But why do you say manager? Like, doesn't your team also frustrate you?
Yeah, of course, as well. I work with some people I really didn't like. So yeah, that's also a thing.
So given the nature of our work, even at FourScouts, you might end up working with people you do not like, right? Because we tend to help clients, and there might be some people that work there that don't really gel really well with your style of working.
Yeah, but in the end, you are there on a temporary job, so I think there's a difference there.
Right, so that makes it easier for you to disconnect and not be as annoyed as much.
Well, I'm still annoyed, but I know the company I actually work at, this is where I'm not annoyed, right? So
right, yeah. So that compensates.
Compensates, I guess.
Yeah.
What was the original question, Hig? When did you know that you were at the right place?
Yeah, like what was did you had a moment like that you like, because I'm pretty sure, like, for example, you joined recently, right? Like, because when I joined, I was like, shit, man, is this the place? Like you start doubting, you don't know the team, and then eventually something happens, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's the place that I actually want to be.
Well, for me...
Is that a moment, or just it grows?
I don't know.
For me, I've been, I think, throughout my career, also in previous companies, I've had like those moments multiple times. And they have changed over time. Like it goes and comes and goes and comes. And I think it has to do also with the type of work you're doing at the moment and how much of an impact you have around you on your colleagues or the things that you're doing. So for me, it has always, I think, revolved around probably being in a position to stimulate and enable my own growth through the growth of others. It's kind of bringing...
So do you mean like learn together, like grow together?
Yeah, sure. like just being aware that you can create values and then like you make other people's lives a bit bearable and a bit better.
Man, you should work in a daycare then.
Perhaps. I mean, like, maybe. I wouldn't
He wants to
mind.
make his own life bearable as well, huh?
I don't know, man. Every time I go there to pick up my kid, I'm like, how can they do this job?
Yeah, I know.
And smile.
In his mouth, it's like the hardest thing ever. Okay.
I'm sure they love it. Yeah. Do you guys love your job? Like, do you genuinely love going to work?
Yes, I do. But doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated sometimes. And there is a lot of ups and downs. But I do wake up and I do get satisfaction from it. And I don't actually feel that it's like a job. I actually get energy out of it. It doesn't per se like. Of course, there are days that are horrible and consumes a lot of energy. But in general, it's definitely a lot more ups than downs.
Because for me, that is like, that is the only thing that really matters, right? Like, do you like what you're doing? And then, you know, a lot of these things you can accept or whatever. But like, yeah, the work that you do is the thing you do every day, or I don't know how many hours in a week, you know, you work, and that has to be good. Otherwise, you're probably not in the right spot.
Yeah, but it's also not only what you do, but probably with who you do it, right? Because I think if you just love what you do, but again, with a bunch of people that you cannot get along, I don't think it would keep you there too long.
Yeah, so the people that you work with is definitely a huge part of the equation as well.
And does it also work the other way around? You work with people you love, but you hate the job? Would you also leave?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's actually
how long it takes, right? To me, that depends how long the situation is there. Like, let's say, you know, the team is the best, most awesomest team ever, but you're stuck doing, you know, doing horrible work, and there's no end in sight. Like, okay, it's going to be like this for the next 15 years or whatever, or maybe even 2 years. That might be a bit more realistic. Then I might definitely say, like, okay, you know, I'm not, you know, there's not going to be a dot on the horizon where things are better, even though you guys are awesome. I think I might have to look around at one point. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I have a case for you guys, right?
Yeah.
So my brother actually called me yesterday, and he's a developer as well. At least that's what he say. I haven't seen his code yet.
When is he going in the podcast, by the way?
I'm going to ask. But so he now has twins. Like, he only wants to have kids, and they got luck shot, 2 kids at once. And he is working for this company that is pretty big, like 17,000 employees. He works now from home, but in general, he is not allowed to work from home, but because of Corona, they are allowed. Yeah. His team doesn't really care if he take care of the kid or not. They don't really put a lot of pressure, so he is now flexible to stay at home, and he can basically deal with the kids when required because they don't have a nanny or daycare or anything. Mm-hmm. But then he got a job offer now, and his job offer is to work fully remote because he doesn't want to go back to the office, earning better, but he is afraid of losing that flexibility with his kids, right? Like, okay, both, they cannot help, and then he needs to make a choice. And he says, well, I like my team. I per se enjoy the security, but the job is boring. I'm not growing. There is not really sense of accomplishment. And this other one has more promise to the future, but I'm going to lose a lot of flexibility and things that I also need to do with my kid now. That is like quite hard leveling it.
So what does he actually value in life then?
Wow. He says he definitely values like being with his kids. He needs to help. They are 2, right? Only his wife is hard, and his wife doesn't work, so that means he has to sustain him and the kids and his wife. And he is also afraid of losing the new job if he cannot keep up with the pressure.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a risk. But like, because you work fully remote in that new job, like what kind of flexibility does he need? Because I'm pretty sure if you work fully remote and you tell your team like, hey, you know, I need to go away for an hour to feed my kids. Or is it like flexibility where he needs like, hey, I need an entire day tomorrow?
And his wife doesn't work, right? So
he
How
says
flexible does it need to be?
right now the kids are 6 months old, so he really struggle. Like he says, sometimes can take up to 2 hours in a fight with them to put them to nap, or in one nap the other one doesn't, and there is this constant like they
Yeah, it's
could not
twins.
find the balance yet or the structure to really have like a routine, and they don't go to daycare.
So it would be better for him to just go to the office then.
Yeah, but then his wife somehow cannot handle
Bad
the whole
joke,
thing.
bad joke.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
But then how do you know which one is the better company or
You don't.
what is the right place?
You don't.
Did he try talking to the new company about this?
Yeah, but then the new company, he would be like a consulting, so they would data
Oh.
share to him to another company, right? So he is also out of control what the customer is going to be. So in the company that he'd say like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course we can be flexible, we can do things, but
Yeah.
you have to deal with the customer.
In the end, you are there.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a
what does
tough
his wife
challenge.
say on this then? Because this is also an influence.
Actually, I don't know.
Okay.
And I think this is
Because she's the one
probably
that's
the
off,
most
right?
important. That's the most important thing to figure out.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so basically a perfect job depends on your wife too.
No, on a nanny.
It depends on making,
And he
on
doesn't have
making
it, so-
agreements at home in your family about decisions that
Yeah.
affect all of you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty difficult choice because I mean, giving up the security, the situation, like always, like moving to an unknown situation, especially with young kids. I can imagine it's not a decision to take lightly.
No.
So
But yeah, he made a choice to stay in his current company for another year until the kids
Yeah.
grow a little bit and then they become
I think
he believes they're going to become more manageable. I totally
Oh,
disagree
no.
with that, but he will
I think
see.
I would have done the same move, I guess, if I was him. And the reason would be because you say he values his kids in his life, not necessarily his work. And with young kids, it's pretty hard. And if you choose for it, you also choose a little bit that you miss the growth. Because it's a bit the same for me, right? I choose to be with my kids 1 day a week, but because of it, I actually miss a lot of time at the job growing on that part.
Yeah.
Which makes me always be behind just a little bit. That's
No,
how
it's
I
a
feel.
lot, it's a lot, but it's okay.
Exactly, a lot.
It's at
I
least
want to tone
20%
down a
of
bit, but
the
sure,
time,
thanks.
Arno.
Thanks for the feedback, guys. I'm taking this across.
And
So
yeah.
from that perspective, I get it, you know. He
Yeah.
can now focus on it because he knows the job, it's easy, it's flexible. So, yeah, I can understand it. I think
Yeah,
I would
but
have
like-
done the same thing.
But let's say now your company doesn't respect that, right? Let's say your colleagues doesn't respect that you value the value that you spend with your
Yeah.
family. Do you think you could then stay in a work like that? If they would
I don't think so.
look down to you like, okay, you want to stay with your kids, this company is about careers, about growing. Yeah, I don't think you fit here. Or
No, actually, I didn't do a job because of it once. Like, I almost moved to Berlin, and they gave me a contract as well. But back then, at least that company was not really open to the fact that I would work for 4 days. And that's why I said no. Like, okay, I just want to do this. I want to be part of my kids more than, well, the usual guy, I guess. And that's the reason I don't do it. So if the company hires me and in the end they say, yeah, I don't care what you do, just come to work, then I think I would leave, yeah.
Yeah, you don't like that rigid style of telling people what to do, basically.
Oh no, but you have some.
Well, it's also
Go ahead.
sometimes a company is like that, right? Sometimes they just are that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And that's,
then it's not a
it's
fit for
fine. It
you.
just doesn't, no,
Yeah.
I don't think it fits for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's where the purpose of the company should match your own purpose.
But how is that
There's a board of
purpose?
values.
Well, a
yeah,
purpose,
because
your
they
purpose
can
in
have
life.
but like they can have a very purpose that align. I just don't like the way how they organize, right?
Yeah.
They have a purpose of being super sustainable and everything, but somehow at work the way how they look at it is a bit different than my view.
Yeah. And so let's say you guys find like the perfect company. Like let's take a hypothetical situation where you
To
guys
make it official, we already are there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, but like let's hypothetical situation, you're looking for a company and you found the perfect fit, but
Yeah.
but there's just this one thing that doesn't mesh really well? Like, for example, they're going to force you to wear a suit and tie, for example. Like, how much are you guys willing to give up to join? Like, everything else is perfect apart from like one thing.
On the record, I don't
Depends.
mind wearing a suit and tie.
No, but like it could be anything, right?
Cool.
Like just something that, yeah, that just kind of goes against your
Well, I mean,
nature.
it depends what it is.
But it's well, I mean, to me, for example, a suit and tie is annoying, but it's like minor enough that it's like, okay, fine, you know what? I don't care. You
Exactly.
know, I look good, so it's cool. But still, I experience it as a bit of a command and control kind of thing, where the company tells me what to dress. Like, yeah, to me, I don't.
Well,
No,
but if
I
they
like
explain you the
stuff like
reasons why you're doing it.
Well, we don't have to get into those details about suit and ties, but just like, what are you guys willing
No.
to sacrifice to get like to the perfect company?
I wouldn't know.
No, but the thing is, now you talk about the pink elephant, right? So I can only see the goddamn suit now. So I think the thing that Pancho mentioned, of course, it makes sense, right? They explain you why. But I think if like there's very simple context. Wow, why? Because our customers are in the financial industry and they all wear suit, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, for me, I found this an absurd idea. But if you say, hey, you need to wear those boots because it's for safety reasons that you're going to lose a toe, by all means, I will do it. But it's just because there is some crazy fake assumption somewhere that somebody came up with it that does not go to my rationale. I don't think I would accept that because I don't like wearing suits and I don't think it would make any sense. So I think even for that small one, I don't think I would join.
Okay, interesting.
I could understand if they say, "Wow, please do not come as you're going to play football on the weekend." You know, that's a little bit more appropriate, more whatever. I get that, you know, but it's
There's a limit.
forcing it. I think I
Yeah.
would have difficulties with it.
How many jobs did you have? 11, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. No, just it makes a bit sense now.
yes. I had some, but the thing is, like, let's talk about that part, right? Okay, no,
Okay.
let's not because you guys have to answer
bring it up, man.
Rolf's question.
I don't know. I don't know what to answer to that. To me, it's just like it can be anything. It can be so many different answers, and it will also depend on the context in my life where I am at the moment and how much I value what I
Yeah.
value. So
Right, so maybe the question itself was a bit too vaguely formulated, but I was trying to get at the point, like for example, like a Google, like, you know, they offer you a job, but you have to sacrifice something. Like, yeah.
well,
Yeah, like
Is
for
that-
example,
is
for
that-
Arno.
is that worth it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Arno, like, he didn't compromise working 5 days a week, right? That's
Yeah.
There's no compromise there.
Yeah.
well,
Okay,
but
so
we're
Henrik,
using Google
let's
as an
say you-
example of like the best company to work for, which I'm not really convinced.
Let's say it is. Hypothetically, they are the best company, Henrik, and you will really want to work there because they have awesome culture, etc. But you have to do estimates.
I'm not
Would
joining.
you or would you not?
I'm not joining because then the hypothetical makes no sense. They cannot be the best company because they automatically make a
Okay.
mistake.
But maybe you can change them on it.
No, that's a naive belief as well. I've tried that. It's just like the girlfriend that is hoping to change the guy. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. And one other thing that we not really touched upon yet, which I think is super important as well, is of course compensation, right? So money, because in the end, I mean, we can talk about purpose and we can talk about, you know, company culture all day, but like we all work, you know, in order to be able to pay the bills, right? So did you guys sometimes maybe swap companies for like that little bit of extra money? Like
Yes.
if it's only like $100, like, yeah?
Oh,
So that's why, yeah, okay.
$100 when you are a trainee makes like 10% of my salary. So
Yeah?
that yes, but
Yeah.
after you grew like 100, no. But
Okay.
so I had this case as well that I was in an internship, was not a full-time job, was like 4 hours. But in Brazil, you normally like you do university in the morning or in the evening. So I moved it to the evening, and I was doing 4 hours of work, and I had the whole afternoon free.
Yeah.
So I told these guys, hey, I would like to work more. You guys can, hire me for the afternoon as well, and then it's all good. And then they said, sure, fine. And then they just, double my pay.
Yeah.
But then there was this other, project that was on the side that hired me, and they were paying me 200 more for the afternoon. And then I said, hey guys, this is paying me more, and that would basically increase my salary by like 20% on the time. And I just, can you guys raise that? And then they said like, no, it's not possible because you are a trainee and like a bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
And there was 5 other trainees there, right? So I said, okay, then I'm going to quit the afternoon. And they didn't like that. So they also said like, then you cannot continue. So they took a very strong, like a position to kind of make myself as a statement to the rest of the trainees. So I quit, got another job. And then 3 months later, I heard that all the other trainees said like, oh yeah, we're going to leave then because we also want more pay. And everybody get the same salary I was getting. And I just found this fascinating, right? Because they could have give the raise, problem solved, everything is nice. But now they waited everybody to get unsatisfied and they had to pay it anyway. Now everybody is just unsatisfied.
Yeah.
So I did that for $100.
And if they would have matched it, would you have stayed, or would you then go back to the other team and say like, hey, these guys are matching the offer. Can you maybe bump it up a little bit? Like, would you actually play them out against each other? Yeah.
No, because I wanted to stay there.
Okay.
But I wanted to also be, in my mind, fairly compensated.
Yeah.
Because they were underpaying, and then because I felt that was not fair, and then the market was basically offering more. I gave the chance to, hey, I want that, right? And I think I deserve that. And here the market is giving to me. Was never the intention to be ping-ponging with that. Yeah. But they were pretty clear that was not what they want.
Yeah. Pancho, did you ever swap jobs just for the money?
No, I know people who have done it. And also for, a lot, like something like that, like 100. But then, again, it's in their own right to do it. You cannot judge. You cannot. I'm not in their shoes. I don't know what their context they're dealing with. I don't know what load they're bearing themselves. What their concerns are. How things are. So, whatever you value, like go for that. And sometimes maybe 100. Euros or dollars, whatever, make a difference. Yeah. Sometimes maybe not, but sometimes maybe well. So, in any company where you're working that is not really willing to give a raise like that, maybe you should not be there.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's the key point, right? It's like, okay, if you need a raise of $100 and you cannot get it because of whatever reason, and I agree with you should not judge the reasons for moving only for money. But then, basically, you are in the wrong place, I think.
Yeah. What do you mean within the wrong place? Not everybody has a big choice, right?
What do you mean by big choice?
Because, some people don't have every job opportunity there is. For some people, it might be way harder to get a new job.
Sure, but if you can get it, then you go for it, right?
Yeah. But from my perspective, I never swapped jobs for the money. I never did that. I think I should have, but I didn't.
Maybe. We all should have. Well, he could,
especially when you're younger, right? Yeah. I think if you're younger, you should do that, actually. Just go around, see what the people pay for something.
I don't know. I did swap for money, but if you ask me, it was a bad choice. But then,
why did you feel cheap?
So, of course, I felt cheap, but I also felt very rich. No, but I think it goes back to that, to that original point when we start this conversation. If you are young, everything is an experience, right? And it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Experience is an experience, and I think that's what happened. But then I got more paid. So I guess, yes, you're right. Just go for the money, enjoy the experience. And then once you grow and you know what you want, then focus on the other parts of things.
One thing is, we just said when you're young, when does that stop? Like, we clearly made a distinction between when you're young, go and explore. Why does that stop at some point, and when does it stop?
Well, it might not be an age thing, but maybe an experience thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been working in the field for over 10 years now, so then it's safe to assume that you know a thing or two. But still, for some people after 10 years, they might not know it all.
But I thought we agreed. The more we knew, the more we figure out we don't know. So why would you stop exploring?
Well, you don't maybe know a lot of things in terms of technical things or books or whatever, but I think you do know what it is that you want and what you value and what you feel is important in a company.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, for example, if I would get a much better offer right now, oh yeah, this offer give me double my salary, and I would not have the confidence that I would have a team like you guys. You know, that would be a no-go. Like, it's a thing that I'm not willing to compromise, and it's not the money. And then the thing is, I could say, yeah, I want to go for that experience, sure, but I don't feel like it because there are other things more than the money that is no longer the motivator.
And if they pay 3 times?
Maybe not.
You guys are not that worth.
I don't know. The thing is, like, I don't think
I was
because
just
nobody's
wondering
going.
where do you actually leave your things around, right? Where do you leave it alone?
How much are we worth?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if they are offering 4, I say, guys, offer the same and take everybody.
Smart thinking.
Yeah.
Well,
so they offer 4, but you have to do estimates. Would you do
No.
it?
Man, that just doesn't work. I'm
With
not going to be doing those nonsense.
With all of us.
Yes, because I can tell you 42 and you guys are going to take it. So that's okay.
All right. So, do you guys have any advice for the listener right now that's listening and it's like, damn, I'm working at this company, but I'm not sure if this is the place for me. Like, how can they figure it out? Like, if this company that they're working for or that they're aspiring to work at is going to be the fit.
I think I have an idea. Just think about what is it that you don't want first, because that's easier to figure out what is it that you do not want. And then from there, go and figure out what is it that you want. And then talk with people in your current company whether you can get away from the things that you don't want and maybe you can get more towards the things that you want. And if that's possible, hey, amen. Great. Just like do that.
Yeah.
And if that's not possible, then figure out like till which point are you willing to compromise yourself and like the inner desires of you. So
yeah. Okay. That's a good tip right there.
For me, I would say you should try to, if you don't like it, you should try to change it.
Mm-hmm.
You should look at your behavior, see how much you contribute into it. And if you cannot change it and you think something is wrong, I think you should leave. I don't think we should... I remember talking to my teacher, complaining about the job with the guy from the Christmas time.
Yeah.
And I was complaining like, this guy is shit, this company is shit. And then she looked at me and said, well, if you stay there, you are shit too. And I think that's a reality of things. So sometimes you can... So I don't disagree with what Punch is saying, but like just to pile on up, right? Like if you figure out you can do things and still... Yeah, it is a shit place and there is still things that you don't like it that you cannot change. I think you should just pack your things and leave.
Yeah. All right. So Arno, what are your tips? Do you have anything?
I think well, it's mentioned already, but I think if you're young, like just starting with a job, you should do multiple jobs. Like, because this is my 4th in the IT, and I think it's too little hindsight.
Yeah.
Because it helps when you work with a lot of people, you know different cultures, you know...
Yeah, you grow your network.
You grow your network, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's not too big for me. So I think, just move around. Maybe be a consultant. Just try it.
It also helps to do multiple shit jobs, and maybe even multiple jobs that are not in your sector of your study field. It will give you such a lot more appreciation and perspective of in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for all the developers right there, what they are saying, go for PHP, man. Then they're gonna...
Yeah. Then you're going to be the garbage truck of IT.
And
it's a
for
joke,
me,
guys.
Yeah, of course.
It's a joke.
We're just gonna skip over it, And for me,
wait. If you're a listener and you're offended, please join us in our next podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We'd love to debate about that.
Tell us how wrong we are, for sure.
Yes.
So for me, a tip would be like, if you don't love telling people about the company you work for, then that might be a sign that it's not the right company for you. So hopefully that will help you make a decision whether to stay or whether to go.
I like it.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a really good one.
Or if you cannot recommend your friend to work with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Pancho used that one before.
Really? In a different episode, maybe.
No, like in offline conversations.
Ah, okay. cool.
Well, you use
Alright,
it also
so-
on me.
So should we wrap it up, guys, or do you have anything more? Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, if what are your tips for the listeners? Maybe you can share what you think is a good sign of a company being the right fit, or maybe even the wrong fit for you. Please let us know, and we can have a discussion maybe. If you're watching this on YouTube, then please write down your comments below and like this video as well. We've been roasting marshmallows here with Henrique, Arno, and Pantje. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, Rolf.
And of course, as always, you can find us on Twitter at FourScouts, or you can send us an email at podcast@fourscouts.nl. Thank you guys for listening, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit FourScouts.nl and on Twitter @FourScouts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows.